Gloria Gonzalez Delekia,
Here.
Anna Smith,
Here.
Sade Fashokun,
Here.
Trish Bodie, Paul Gautier,
Here.
Nikosi Nelson,
Here.
Francesca Romans.
It is 6:31 p.m. and with the quorum of the board present, I call this meeting of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees to order. It is my pleasure to welcome Miss Allison Sullivan this evening. She is a student at Reagan Elementary, and she's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiances this evening.
Please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the moment of silence, for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
If you will join me in a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. We appreciate that. Next is our Spotlight on Learning, and we are very excited to hear from the students and staff at Reagan Elementary School. Come on up.
For having us. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you for having us. I am Allison Pennington, but I wanted to reach out and just say thank you to Madam President, to the Board of Trustees, to Dr. Gearing. We're very excited to be here, and we want to thank you for all the hard work that you do for our staff and students and everybody in this district. We have brought some students and some staff members to talk to you about how empowering staff empowers our learners on our campus. And so we are going to start with our teachers who are standing up. We're going to pass the mic and let them talk to you about their experiences at Reagan and what we do to empower staff. And then we're going to turn it over to our beautiful students, and they're going to talk to you about how they own their learning on our campus. Okay. We're going to start with Katie Haker.
Hi. Okay, so for 5th grade this year, our professional learning plan, we kind of decided to do it all on the same thing, which was higher order thinking. And when am I good? More? Okay. When we came to implement daily reflection logs, which is something we're doing school-wide, what we found was that we implemented it at the beginning of the year, and our students weren't deeply reflecting on their learning in the way that we intended. So we went back to the drawing board as a PLC, and what I did in my classroom was I had students they were saying that they didn't resonate with the learning, what is that called? They were using learning targets, and the things that I say to help them write sentence stems, thank you. The sentence stems that they were using that we gave them, they weren't resonating with. So we actually had students create their own sentence stems that they felt they connected to more. And through that and through conversations about what it means to truly reflect, we had our students really start to reflect deeply on their learning. And not only academically, but also behaviorally. A lot of them use it as a journal now, and it helps them to really think about the habits that they're forming that are going to help them on their learning journey.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Belzel. Sorry, I'm not sure. Allergies and I sound funny. I apologize. So, kind of like what she's going on, and Juliana and I are going to talk about empowerment and our collaboration, how that works for us. And we're nervous, so I have notes. So, today we would like to share how Reagan promotes a school environment that values both collaboration, student and staff empowerment, and personal well-being. Each week, teachers have dedicated time to participate in professional learning communities, where we analyze student performance data, discuss individual students' needs, and identify effective teaching practices. We understand that success doesn't happen in isolation. It is through the power of collaboration that we create an environment where students can thrive. When we come together and share ideas, resources, and strategies, we help ensure that every child receives the support they need to succeed.
And on our kindergarten team, our collaboration doesn't stop when we're in the hub for PLC. One of the strengths of our team is the diversity of skills and perspectives that we bring to the table. Each member of our team has unique expertise, whether it's in subject matter, student engagement, or social emotional learning. Team planning sessions allow us to learn from one another, share best practices, and continually refine our teaching strategies. By investing in our own growth as teachers, we enhance our ability to support our students effectively. I am very proud to be a part of this incredible team and campus and look forward to continuing our journey together. And I do really want to highlight our principal, Ms. Pennington, for promoting our work-life balance. She's always saying family first and really encourages us to go home whenever it's time to go home, leave work at work, have our weekends to ourselves, and sharpen our own saw.
Oh, thank you. We're going to turn it over to our students because at Reagan, we firmly believe that what we expect them to do, we should do. And so earlier when Katie mentioned the professional learning plan, all of our teachers created a professional learning plan based on their LEADS goal. That LEADS goal they reflected using 5 questions, and then we have allowed them through professional learning days on campus to take their own path to their learning. So that learning could be through choice sessions that we may offer as a campus, reading a book, attending a conference, and then they go back and reflect on that learning. So if we expect our kids to do that by May of 2027, then we should be doing that to lead the way. All right, I'm gonna turn it over. Are you ready, Allison? Okay.
Hi, my name is Allison, and I'm excited to share a little bit about what we've been doing at school this year. One of our main focuses has been student ownership of learning. That means not just listening and memorizing, but actually being involved in our learning. We do this by reflecting on what we've done, asking questions, and setting goals to keep improving. In Ms. Hager's class, I got to pick my own topic for a project. I picked a swimmer because I'm a swimmer too. This helped me connect with my project, and it made it a lot more fun. We also reflect. Every day we write in our daily reflection logs about what we've learned and any questions we have. For example, if we're learning about the War of 1812 and I don't understand something, I might put down, I want to know why this war started. This helps me see what I need to work on before moving on. We also set goals. We put them in our green folder to look back at often. My goal this month was to understand science in a different way. I wanted to see how everything fit together, like how the water cycle is connected to the ecosystem. This helped me see my learning in a bigger way. Thank you for letting me share my experience. I'm proud of what we've done. I hope you can see how reflection and goal setting help us take charge in our learning.
Hi, I'm Lola. This year I've been learning how to challenge myself and reflect on my progress. One thing I really like choosing is challenge problems. In Mr. Blakely's class, it's exciting because they push me to learn more, and I feel like I learn better when I have a challenge to figure out. At the end of the week, Miss Moran has us write in our binders about what we did that week and what we liked about it. This reflection helps me see if there's something I forgot or didn't quite understand. If I notice something like that, I can go ask for help before moving on. At the beginning of the week, we write I can statements in our planner. This helps us know what we're going to focus on for the rest of the week. We also set goals both for school and outside of school. One of my goals was to get better at softball. I practice a lot with my teammate pitching to me, and now I'm at the top of my batting order. I really believe the goal-setting time at school helps me reach my goal in softball too. It's been great to have time to reflect and set goals because it keeps me focused and motivated.
Hi, my name is Benjamin,
And in class, we have a green folder and we reflect about what happened during the day. This helps me remember the things that I learned. In class, our teacher tells us to listen. In school, we do writing assignments. First, our teacher has us listen. Then the next day, we write about what's important to us. This helps me remember the things I'm supposed to do and the steps I need to do to reach my goal. Like with me in basketball, my goal is to do between the legs by the end of the season. Practicing is helping me getting closer to my goal, and reflecting is helping me get closer to my goals in school. Thank you for listening.
Hi everyone. Hi everyone. I'm Hudson. I want to talk about how reflections and choices help me in my learning in my class. We have something called must-dos and can-dos. It means we have some tasks we have to do, but we can choose the order and sometimes pick what we want to do first. This helps me because when I pick something I like or find easier to start with, it gets me going and the rest feels easier. One of my favorite choices was a candy game about rounding. It was really fun and it actually helped me do better on my math test and with my homework. Reflections have been a big part of our learning too. We do it every day. We write down what we're good at, which is called our glow, and what we need to work on, which is called our grow. We keep these in our binders when we set goals. We also color smiley faces to show how we felt about the week. And we color stars to track how many goals we finished. This has really helped me because I can see what I'm doing well and what I still need to work on. I like being able to track my progress and feel in control of my learning.
We just want to thank y'all. This is what we do at Reagan. We're very big on reflection and goal setting, and so just thank you for having us and for empowering us to do that.
Thank you for sharing, and let's give them a round of applause. You all were amazing. Thank you for sharing y'all's story with us, and we're going to come over there and take a photo with y'all. Next is citizen comments portion of our agenda. And before I invite the first speaker to the podium, we're going to watch a short introductory video.
Hello, my name is Eileen. I'm a senior at Leander High School. The district and the Board of Trustees are the local government body responsible for serving the educational needs of all school children, like me and my friends here in Leander Independent School District. Their mission is to cultivate each individual student while creating a safe and supportive environment. The board is now taking up the Citizens Comment agenda item. This is dedicated time during the meeting to hear from the whole community, and the entire LISD family is listening. The district believes the Leander family thrives when we ensure a welcoming, safe, and caring environment. To our speakers, before you speak, we hope you have read the guidelines specified in board operating procedures and BED local. The board wants to hear from everyone. Please be mindful of your conduct and example you are choosing to set while presenting complex information. Remember that school children of all ages may participate in board meetings, either by watching them online, or you might even see some of us in the audience. Still remember that there are other ways you can communicate with the board. You can send them an email or just tell them that you would like to chat sometime. When the board president calls your number, remember, watch the timer and focus your remarks to the time allotted. We know it can be hard, but please conclude your comments when you hear the chime.
Thank you. I'm going to call up speaker number 1 for citizen comments.
Good evening, members of the school board, parents, and educators. I am Layla Garner, a 6th grader at Henry Middle School. I am also a proud student of the Quest program. I'm here to address the cutting of another academic program when faced with budgetary constraints, Quest at Henry Middle School. I'm here today because Quest is more than just a GT program. It's a place where students can learn to think critically, solve problems creatively, and present ideas with confidence. Quest also provides an academic reward to those given. Replacing Quest with a general GT program would take away what makes it special. Programs that don't focus on problem solving and presentation skills leave students unprepared for high school and beyond. If students are forced to leave for better programs elsewhere, our district loses talented minds, which impact test scores, enrollment, and ultimately funding. You aren't just hearing this from me, you're hearing this from the over 200 past, present, and future Questies who signed a petition to keep Quest at Henry Middle School. I encourage you to look on the petition to read some of the comments that they wrote. Keeping Quest means keeping students engaged, challenged, and in our district. It means investing in the future of our schools and the success of our students. Please consider keeping Quest and keeping excellence. Don't take away a program that truly makes a difference. Quest taught me that I have a voice and that I have the right to use it. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 1. Speaker number 2.
Hello, board. My name is Kevin Wong, and on behalf of my fellow students and classmates, we'd like to thank you guys for listening to our words and putting it on the table. We truly value from the bottom of our hearts all the efforts that we put into this. But I would like to go over the reevaluation over the IB program, just because we are looking back at it and seeing how we can make it more budget effective. We want to make sure that it's put on the right way. Currently, we think that the best concept would be to at least extend it for the next 2 years for the class cohorts of 2027 and 2028. So at least the people who have made commitments to be here, to stay here, to be in the state, the district, who have already moved here from many, many countries away, like Ireland, from Malaysia, even Canada. And we think that the best option is to extend it for at least 2 years before thinking of any other implementations, especially when we're looking at cutting IB from not just the elementary schools, but one of the high schools and keeping it only the other. Because if we are planning on doing so, you must be prepared to accommodate for us, because we are all willing to move for our education. We are all willing to fight for it and talk about it. And the most important part is student involvement. I feel like we don't have enough movements, enough voice here, because a lot of students don't even know about these board meetings every Thursday, or every other Thursday. It's important that we get students of all ages to be involved in this.
Thank you, speaker number 2. Speaker number 3.
Good evening. My name is Pace Young, and I'm a sophomore at Vandergrift High School. I first came here 8 weeks ago to speak against the removal of the IB program. I spoke again at the next meeting and again at the one after that, and now I'm here again. Many of my peers have done the same. At the last meeting, there were 22 speakers. They all spoke out against the removal of the IB program. And this is far from all we've done. Between attending rallies and advocacy days to holding a successful walkout, we have been doing everything we can to raise our voices, to protest this unfortunate decision to remove this essential and innovative program. But why? Why have we sacrificed so much of our time and energy for this cause? because it's a worthy cause. Our education is worth fighting for. And as we've been telling you since February 5th, IB offers so many benefits. It offers so many opportunities for students to grow academically and to develop as a person. While IB and AP are both rigorous courses, AP does not ensure personal growth, nor does it prepare students for life beyond high school the way IB does. IB turns students into global citizens who are capable and willing to change the world for the better. This educational pathway may not be for everyone, but there are so many people interested, so many people who are willing to fight for IB, for education, because our education is our future, not a budget line. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 3. Speaker number 4.
Good evening, board. It's this is my third board meeting for like 6 weeks that I've talked at, and again, we've all, or for the majority, most of us students have been talking about the removal of the IB program. We've worked hard to show how important this program is, and many board members have now seemed to, like, you guys have started to understand that this is just, it was very silly to remove such an important program. I agree that the IB program wasn't started well in our district, but it's too late to let that hurt the students who need it now. The next 2 years, 104 weeks, 730 days, and 17,520 hours should be spent giving us the education we deserve. Last time, me and my peers suggested various solutions, and now I'm here to ask you for your support. I'm asking you to approve the proposed $500,000 to fund the IB program across the district. I personally suggest cutting IB elementary schools and putting that funding towards the high school program due to, I would say, the loss of knowledge in middle school. That's like, what, 3 years? But I want to end this with a discussion question, and that is, how can we help? Like, if you guys could reach out to us, and you guys have our emails and stuff, we would love to help. Y'all, thank y'all.
Thank you, speaker number 4. Speaker number 5.
Good evening, Superintendent and board members. My name is Silvia Zolfanelli. I'm a parent of Undergriff and Canyon Ridge students, and you've heard me speak before in defense of the IB program. First, I want to thank you for reconsidering the decision to cut IB. It means so much to many students and their families. After the last board meeting, I sent you an email outlining possible scenarios for reconfiguring IB. I've done some research on how public schools in Austin and across Texas run the IB program, and particularly in response to the concerns raised in the last discussion. What I found is that most schools offer IB only at the high school level, 11 and 12th grade, focusing on the diploma. These schools are not exclusively IB schools, but they also offer AP courses, since IB and AP cater for different learning styles, providing both option benefits a diverse range of students and strengthen the district. As we await for details on the next year IB structure, I urge you to involve Ms. Magnus and Ms. Doctor, our IB coordinators, in shaping the program's future. We also have parents like me ready to help. I want to bring to your attention to April 1st is the start of the open enrollment for IB programs in other districts. Given the uncertainty surrounding IB in Leander, some families may feel compelled to apply elsewhere. Please provide clarification and plan as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 5. Speaker number 6.
Thank you to the Board of Trustees for the work that you do and for the opportunity to speak to you today. My name is Caroline Cook. I'm mom to one student at Laura Welch Bush Elementary and one at Canyon Ridge Middle School. I'm here today to respond to something I heard during the last board meeting on March 13th. It was quite surprising to hear a trustee suggest near 11 at night that 2 elementary schools, one in the central area and one in the south, should be consolidated as soon as fall 2025. No matter what word you use, consolidate, repurpose, or optimize, it was clear the intention would be to close the schools and redistrict all of the students. The reasoning was that the board does not want to have to fire student-facing staff members in the face of budget cuts such as APs and library aides. But closing schools will result in the firing of administrators, support staff, and classroom teachers. Alternative options for addressing the budget while retaining more staff were also presented during the last meeting. For the last 2 years, our community in the South has been engaged and demonstrated a willingness to work with LISD on creative and positive solutions, serving on district committees and attending board meetings. I ask the board to uphold your commitment to involve communities in discussions before taking action to repurpose or close schools. We want to be part of finding the best possible solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 6. Speaker number 7.
Good evening. We are Corey and Serena Finnegan, parents and invested stakeholders at Nauman Elementary. We are here to urge the board not to consider our campus for repurposing. While we understand that no final decisions have been made, we feel it is essential to voice our concerns regarding the potential impact of any future changes. Nauman Elementary is at the heart of our community, serving as a vital pillar for families who have intentionally chosen to live nearby. Many stakeholders have purchased their homes with the school's proximity in mind, valuing the convenience, sense of community, and high-value educational opportunities it provides. Although we recognize that not all data points have been released, from what we have seen, the impact on surrounding campuses was not fully considered when 2 neighboring schools were repurposed. Given the low enrollment at both Nauman and Fabian, we understand that one of these campuses may inevitably be repurposed. However, closing both would have a significant and potentially disruptive impact on the surrounding community. A more strategic and balanced approach would be to commit to repurposing only one of these campuses while allowing the remaining low population school to absorb the majority of displaced students. This solution would minimize disruption, preserve the community dynamic, and ensure the students continue to receive a high-quality education in a familiar environment. We appreciate your time and consideration in making the decision that best serves our children, families, and community.
Thank you, speaker number 7. That concludes our citizen comments for this evening, and that moves us over to our next agenda item, number 5, our consent agenda. Board members, do we have any motions related to the consent agenda items?
I move the board approve the consent agenda items as presented. I second.
Anna makes a motion, Sade seconds. All those in favor? 7 in favor, consent agenda passes. Next item on the agenda, number 6, is our superintendent's report. Dr. Gear.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a little out of date already, but we haven't had a chance to have this conversation yet. So we had a group of Superintendent Student Advisory Council members go down to Galveston for the TASB Winter Governance Conference. They made 2 presentations. One was a panel presentation, and the other was a regular presentation. We want to thank Anna Smith, our Board Vice President, for coming down and joining us and supporting these kids. Dr. Sarah Martinez and Dr. Clay Courier also were down supporting these incredible kids. One marked difference between the Leander group and the other groups was in our presentation, this was 100% kids presenting. In many other presentations, they had student voice showing up, but a lot of adult voice too at the same time. And so the other remarkable thing that we saw was 3 years ago, I think, our first group went down. And there were several groups this year that came and shared with them that they were the inspiration for them being down there and doing the things that they're doing. So that student voice in Leander is starting to spread across the state, and very proud of these kids. They did a really fantastic job. Our reverse job fair for our 18-plus transition students was extremely successful. This was something that was a new idea, that was a risk for our staff, and they pulled it off. did an incredible job. I want to point out too that this is student exhibition. So when we talk about ownership of learning and sharing what we know and how we know it, this is another great example of what's happening across the district. At PTA Rally Day, and I forget, that's 2 weeks ago now, I bumped into this young lady. Actually, she made a point of coming over and bumping into me. And she handed me this flyer and made sure that I understood what they were doing at Stiles Middle School. And so I took a look at the flyer and listened to her very carefully and asked her to make an invitation. So today I had the great honor of attending a No Place for Hate symposium that was organized by Stiles Middle School No Place for Hate Club at Stiles Middle School. This came about because ADL, who they usually work with at a statewide level, was not doing the big presentation and symposium that they usually do. And so these students wanted to do something for LISD. And so they set up this symposium and invited the other middle schools. And so we had Stiles Middle School, Wiley Middle School, Leander Middle School, and Canyon Ridge Middle School come up to Stiles today. This is something that we have sponsors for, and they do an incredible job. But again, like that Superintendent Student Advisory Council, you could clearly tell that this is driven by these students. They are the ones who are driving this process. The leadership that I witnessed out of those 8th graders just was incredible today. And Anna was there as well again, and thank you for your support. But I think you can agree that our future is bright when we see the leadership that we have with the kids in our schools, even at that middle school level. They had set the schedule. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had actually made packets for everybody. No, she has those too. This has everything that we could need in it. It even has a medieval sword because they really are attacking this idea of hate in their schools. And so just really was an incredible experience. They shared their identity icebergs as an icebreaker, where what you see in a person is visible, but there are lots of other parts of people that are not visible, and they wanted to make sure that they shared both of those pieces. And the Leaf is just an example of some of the projects that they're doing on their campuses as they do things like seeking to gain understanding, which is one of those core tenets of No Place for Hate. And so they have lots of activities that are really teaching students how to be kind, how to respect others, how to draw others into the conversation. Just really incredible. This is that Leander Middle School group, a large group of students. And you'll notice there's no adults presenting with these kids. This is kids controlling everything. Really true ownership of learning. Really fun to watch. So I want to give you another just brief example. This is just a little over a minute video. I just happened by Leander High School and wandered into a math classroom. And so I just wanted to share with you that experience. And as we go, I'll talk you a little bit through this video. So these are non-permanent vertical surfaces that you see all through the hallways in Leander High School. This is an Algebra 2 classroom, and the level of engagement of these kids you're going to see in a second. They're using the interactive panels as they're meant to, as interactive panels. Just listen to the...
Okay, so when we solved it back there, you see my little 4.2. Okay, so it says you want to use the one before it's subtracting and before changing. So that's the one that 4.22 turns in. And that was the one that before we subtracted and before we changed it.
So just want to point out that this is an empowered staff member. I try to find a kid that was not really engaged in the content. They were actually making calculations for Artemis mission to land on the moon, and just an incredible experience. This is a little outdated too, but we did have our CI days. These are career investigation days. This is something that is new and an exploration for us. An incredible amount of work in our CTE department. They made 40 business partners and put 160 juniors and seniors out in the community over 4 weeks at all of these partners. And so this has really empowered our community. We believe that we have to have exposure in order to inspire kids. And so this is one of those efforts where we're putting them out there to really make sure that they know and understand what's out there, and can say things like, yes, I really like that, but they can also say things like, yeah, that's definitely not for me. So we're really proud of the work that they're doing in that department as well. All right, we have 7 of our soccer teams in playoffs, and 7 of them going to regional semifinal level, which is really incredible. And so this is some of that work. We're busy trying to navigate thunderstorms right now, so trying to make sure that we have contingency plans for the kids, especially who are going down to the Corpus area tomorrow. But both boys and girls teams been super successful. We're super proud to watch them and cheer them on. All right, with that, I'll take any questions that you might have.
No questions. Thank you, Dr. Gehring. That's all wonderful stuff there. That's going to move us to our next agenda item, which is item 7A1, our Empowered Staff Formative Review. We have a nice big group here. If y'all would, when y'all sit down, if you would, we know y'all, but you know, if y'all could just go ahead and introduce yourselves for everyone.
I'm Lisa Gibbs. I'm the Executive Director of Talent Acquisition, and I support all of our elementary campuses.
I'm Jennifer Dunn. I'm the elementary campus recruiter.
And I'm Jamie Brzezinski. I'm the secondary campus recruiter.
I'm Casey O'Pry. I'm the Chief Human Resources Officer. Sorry, a little close. Good. Paul Johnson, Area Superintendent.
And Brandon Evans, Senior Executive Director of Operations.
Madam President, Dr. Gehring, Board, thank you for letting us share with you tonight. The purpose of our discussion is to share about the LISD goal of attracting, growing, and retaining an empowered staff. All your presenters in this portion of tonight's meeting have served in the role as a teacher. We can all agree that the role of teacher has definitely evolved. And how do we forward here? May I grab the clicker? Thank you. Let's see. We're going to skip right ahead. As you look at the pictures here, you can see that classrooms have definitely changed a whole bunch. If you look on the upper left there, you can see what classrooms used to look like. You can see the rows of desks. Teachers were kind of center stage. Students were kind of sitting and getting information from teachers. We know that that has changed. If you think about the conversation that we had with Reagan Elementary students earlier tonight, I just wrote a few of their words down, and these are words from kindergartners to 5th graders. Reflection, working together, choices in my learning, talking with other students about their learning, goal setting, and then of course the kindergartner said glow and grow, which I think is a perfect way of saying what he said. The LISD strategic plan is preparing our district to empower staff members to provide a learning environment for students of the future. LISD teachers understand this quote: our job is to prepare kids for something, let me say that again. Our job is not to prepare kids for something. Our job is to help students prepare themselves for anything. We do not know what the future holds for our students. We do understand, however, that we must prepare our learners to be ready for what their future holds. So goal 2 of the LISD strategic plan is to attract, grow, and retain a collaborative community of first-rate employees who are empowered to meet the needs of each and every student. Just go back. Thank you. Goal 2 does come with some challenges. This chart is not new information for anyone in this room. The United States is facing a national teacher shortage. In 2011, the nation had a shortage of approximately 6% of teachers. The country is now facing a 20% shortage of teachers. In Leander ISD, we're committed to addressing this problem in a very creative, solution-focused manner. I'm going to turn this discussion over to our recruiters to shine a light on some of the steps that we're taking to address the recruitment challenges of LISD.
Hi, Jamie and I are excited to be in front of you all so that we can discuss and talk to you and share with you about how we strategically and intentionally recruit for diverse and highly qualified teachers to join our district. I'm going to talk to it as a big picture, and she's going to talk to you more about the day in the life of our recruiting efforts. You can see at the very top job fairs. We attended 7 job fairs in person at the university level in the fall and 12 by the end of April. We've been at a couple of them this week and going to some tomorrow and next week, and so that's a great way for us to get face-to-face interaction. We're going to be holding our in-person job fair on April 12th at Reed Elementary from 9 to 11 a.m. The great thing about already being at these university job fairs is lots of those candidates are going to be at our in-person job fair, and also some of the people that we've been screening. We also are going to be holding some in-person and more virtual job fairs that are going to be targeting some of our hard-to-fill spots. We're fortunate that we have a platform that's called Ratency, and that's where we used, we first got it to be just doing our virtual job fairs, but now we're utilizing it for our in-person as well. And teachers and principals can look at resumes from candidates that have registered already, whether it's in-person or virtual events, and they can actually invite them to their booths, either virtually or in person. So it's been a very, very lucrative, and I think it makes us stand out as a district. We've built strategic partnerships. We currently are working with Texas Women's University. We have 6 instructional assistants that are employed here in our district who are working towards their bachelor's degree in special education. We actually have one that has already graduated, and she's doing a phenomenal job at Aiken Elementary as an SCSS teacher. We've just recently started partnering with 240 Alternative Certification. We have 10 instructional assistants or administrative assistants who already have their bachelor's degree and are working towards their certification in EC through 6, SPED, science, or math. We're also going to be continuing our Spirit Cultural Exchange that we've been having. This is our 4th year, so we'll have 32 international teachers on our campuses. We also implemented this year University of Texas UTeach program, which focuses on our STEM. We have 6 teachers that are in classrooms at the secondary level working towards certification of science or math. We also just recently began a partnership with University of Texas, the Longhorns in residence. We're hoping to have at least 5 candidates that are going to be in a year-long residency program with us at the elementary campuses, and we may have to split them up into 2 campuses, but they're going to be doing 3 days of student teaching, 1 day of maybe substitute teaching, instructional assistant, whatever the campus needs are, and then 1 day of instruction at the University of Texas. Social media is a huge part of who we are. That's how we're able to outreach to so many more people. When I started in this position 4 years ago, our following for LinkedIn was 1,200 people. To date, it's about 11,000. So we've really grown our following. We do a lot of job postings on LinkedIn. I hope y'all see them a lot, and Indeed. We also use X, Facebook, and Instagram to highlight the great things that are happening and really introduce our culture. We are videotaping kids, teachers, and I'll talk in a minute about how we're going to make that a little bit better, where we're reaching a broader amount of people. But our social media platforms, it's fun for us to do, and it really does get us outreaching to people. Building and fostering those relationships. We were just at Texas Tech on Monday and Tuesday. We're already making sure that we're keeping candidates warm. We're already talking to them. We're daily, that's what Jamie and I are doing, is making sure that with those candidates that we know are good fits in our district, we are communicating with them. We're also constantly working with universities and alternative certification programs. We are lucky that we have so many universities around here so that we're able to go into College of Education classes and talk to them about the great things happening here in Leander. We're also visiting with our current student teachers. It's very important for us to get on campuses and see what's happening and making sure that they're having good experiences. We have amazing cooperating teachers, just amazing. Their experiences that they have are just second to none. We also work with our Ready, Set, Teach students, going into their classrooms, talking about the social media's do's and don'ts, interview tips. We do a lot of Kagan Structures activities with them so that they can see what it looks like in a classroom to make sure kids are being active and participating and they're in charge of their ownership of their classroom. Collaborating. We are recently working with the Office of Educational Access and our SCR team to take our social media a little bit to a different route where we're still talking to these teachers about why they're staying in Leander, but we're working with those two offices so that we can get it on a bigger platform and potentially get it into a podcast where we're talking to these teachers that have been in our district and why they're staying here. We also are constantly working with our campus administrators. They're at the pulse of everything that we do, so it's really important for us to be talking to them, asking them, what do you need on your campus? We're on campuses, we're talking to students, we're talking to teachers, so that we understand that we're routing teachers, the best candidates to the correct campus. The district is creating a culture, but each campus has their own culture that they're creating, and it's our responsibility to make sure we're routing the best teachers for those campuses. We also are very fortunate, Leander Chamber of Commerce and us partner very heavily together. They help us making sure that we're getting discounts for apartments, rentals, U-Hauls, things like that. Every year they give us between 500 and 1,000 discount cards that support, that are giving discounts for different restaurants, things, massages, things like that we're giving out to the new, to profession teachers, new to district, and student teachers. Last, that we just incorporated about 18 months ago was our Talk to a Recruiter on our website. We initially, Jamie and I thought this would be a great way for us to interact with people that wanted to know more about the district as far as teachers were concerned. But it's turned into much more than that. We have people that are contacting us about CNS positions, transportation, custodial, where we're able to talk to these people and get them routed to the correct department so that we can help them. As of today, we've been in interaction either via phone, email, with 500 people. So that's amazing to be having those conversations. Lots of those people are going ahead and they're once they find out what our district is about, what it maybe takes if you have a Utah teaching certification to get it transferred to a Texas certification. Once they've had those conversations, and it's not intimidating because it's not a interview or anything like that, we're seeing that we're having great success with them going ahead and applying in our district. So that's the big picture of us, and Jamie's going to walk us through a day in the life.
As Jennifer said, relationships are really the foundation of all of this, because you've got to have relationships with your principals because you got to know what they need. When the Reagan teachers were up there, you heard them talking about we're a diverse group. So if I have a principal that has an opening, I need to know, what are you looking for? Are you looking for this experience, this attitude? What specifically is it? And so huge portion of what we do is just really getting to know our principals and hiring managers and what they're looking for and what their campuses need. We also, like Jennifer said, alternative certification programs, education classes. We will talk to anyone if you will let us talk to you. So a lot of that. One of the things that we do on a daily basis is we look at who's come in terms of applications. We review those applications, look at references, look at certifications, and then we invite them to virtually visit with us if they're qualified or even potentially qualified. So that moves to the screening portion where I get to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody and ask them questions about themselves. And it's that intangible piece that I get to do that saves a little bit of footwork for a principal, where I get to see what makes you light up when I ask you these questions. So I'm a parent in the district as well, so I'm looking for that a teacher that can pull my kid into the content. So anytime I'm talking to somebody, that's what I'm looking for, is that relational piece, that engaging piece. Do you love kids? Does it show when I talk to you? So that screening offers that ability for us to do that, get to know candidates a little bit better. So if I find an amazing math teacher and I have a campus that's looking for that, I can shoot them directly to that campus and say, call her now. Because if she's applying for us, she's also applying for surrounding districts. And if we can get her first, then that's a great deal for our kids. And so that's my favorite part of the day, is talking to candidates, because we'll get off the phone and I'll go, ooh, that was a good one, and send them on out. Because that's what makes us excited, is doing what's best for kids. And putting great teachers in front of kids is what's best for kids. So best part of our day. The other part that we do a lot is serving by talking about what it takes to become a teacher in the state of Texas. So we have a lot of recommendations. The sub office will come and say, hey, there's a sub who's been subbing for a few years. They love it. They want to talk about becoming a teacher. Send them my way. I've had school board people send, others my way that are interested in learning how to become a teacher in the state of Texas if you already have a bachelor's. So we talk a lot to substitutes, assistants, community members about that, because we know if you're in our community, you're likely to stay, and you're invested in our kids and our community, especially if you're a parent. So talk a lot about that. And then, of course, with all the things that Jennifer spoke about, we do have to plan for those things. And so, some of our weeks and days are spent, planning for those events. So that's a little bit of some of those big rocks that go into all the things that Jennifer talked about in our daily life as recruiters.
Thank you, Jennifer and Jamie. And our elementary principals and high school principals are also very thankful for the work that the tremendous work that these two do. We have some quotes from our elementary principals. I'm not going to read those to you, but they definitely acknowledge the work that both do. Our secondary principals feel the same way. We have a quote from Josh Hogg at Glenn High School. He says, I cannot overstate the impact that our recruiters have had on the hiring process. Jamie knows what we need, hunts for the best teachers, and matches them up perfectly with the right campus fit. She has been worth her weight in gold. I've seen recruitment well done in my career. These two take it to the next level. And I know it's particularly challenging right now as we're surplusing teachers, but we are still recruiting teachers for critical shortage areas that aren't in areas that are being surplus currently. Let's see, the next part of our discussion, we're going to transition over to Ms. Gibbs.
So when I think about the forces that we are fortunate to have behind us in all of these efforts, we have the huge force and support of this school board, our superintendent, our cabinet level, our principals who make a commitment to nurture these new to profession teachers, the mentor teacher and the PLCs that bring them along and teach them how to teach and what to teach and how to work with kids. So without those forces behind us, we would not be able to see the growth that we see and be able to have initiatives like our Grow Your Own programs. Tonight, I want to share a little bit about a very personal Grow Your Own story for me. So the picture in the middle, that is Michelle Castillo on May 1st of 2022 when we let her know that she was selected as one of the recipients of the TWU grant. But this story starts before that. This story actually starts with her mom, Mo Castillo, Monita. And you'll see that bottom picture. That's not her and her sister, that's her and her mom. Mom happens to be in the audience. I had the amazing fortune to work with Mo as an instructional assistant at Knowles, and she gave 20 years to this district, working at Knowles and working at Camacho, and now she has retired, and now she's come back and she subs. But what Michelle got to see when she started elementary school was her mom's love and passion for working with kids and the impact that Miss Mo had, because if kids loved Miss Mo, if you knew Miss Mo, you loved Miss Mo because she loves kids and she truly has a passion to serve. So Michelle would go in and help her in her class after school, and she'd want to be in there helping her mom. And then Michelle continued on. She went to running Brushy. She went to Leander High School. She was a leader in the classroom. She played softball. She got a scholarship to go play softball at Pratt Community College, where she completed her associate's degree. And then she was picked up by Southwestern, I can't think of the name of it, Southwestern in New Mexico. And then COVID hit. And so Michelle came home and started working as an instructional assistant. And it took her principal about a week to recognize how powerful and impactful her love and passion for working with kids was. And so when we announced the TWU grant application and we asked principals for recommendations, her principal recommended her right away. And Michelle is in her student teaching semester at Camacho as an SLE teacher, and the principal has been holding that position all year long for her, and she'll become the teacher of record as soon as she finishes this semester. And she would be here tonight so that y'all could see her if only she weren't in class, because she has an online class tonight because it just, she's finishing all that work up. But this is a picture of generations of commitment to Leander and the difference that it's making. And it all started with Miss Mo.
Thank you, Lisa. Being a great place, thank you. Being a great place to work is the difference between being a good company and a great company. The simple fact is that we can recruit quality staff members. A lot of work goes into it, as you know, but we must carefully plan steps to ensure that they remain with us. So what does that mean? We have, in Leander ISD, we have stay interviews. Leander has taken it to the next step. Most school districts do have exit interviews. Leander does as well. But we go a little bit further with it. We want to know from our employees that are here, that are successful in their role here, we want to know why they're staying. What is it about Leander ISD? What is it about their school? What is it about the culture of the district? Why are they staying with the school district so we can grow and learn from that? We also want to know what their concerns are, what their ideas for improvement are, and so we can use that data to help support initiatives and ideas to help retain staff. Reagan Elementary School really highlighted the focus on PLCs. We have recruiter check-ins with new hires. So after we hire them, we check in on them. Leadership development programs. I know Mr. Johnson is going to tell us about some of the leadership development programs in a moment. We are offering different screener exams to support the health of employees in Leander ISD. Learning leaders, we have a robust EAP program. I've been a part of several, I've had several EAP programs in my former school district, and this one is by far the most robust. We have a mentor program, National Board Certification Cohort we're starting here in Leander ISD. We have positive campus culture and supportive campus administrators. That was a quote from one of the teachers at Reagan that she just said, promoting our own, my principal promotes my own work-life balance. They tell us to go home from time to time and take care of their teachers, which definitely helps to retain staff here in Leander ISD. We also are super excited about the Frontier Clinic. I'm not going to read all the details here about the Frontier Clinic because we've already shared information with you about it, but we're super excited about it. It is available to all Leander ISD employees and their families insured by the district. Designated, it's designed to make employees feel at ease when they walk in. That is the concept that they have. If you've had a chance to see the clinic, you know that they pride themselves on being very unique and having open access to our employees. Preventative care is at no cost for those that are insured by the school district. Some plans are at no cost while others are at discounted rates. I'm going to hand this over to Paul now, who's going to share about how Leander ISD is growing leaders.
Thank you. Part of having an empowered staff is obviously growing your staff well. So that's been actually very healthy right now. So I'm just going to go through some of the things that are listed up there, and I want to highlight a new program at the end that we have this year, New Leadership Academy. But for some of you that may not know, we have a Prospective Principal Program, which is for people that are assistant principals that want to become principals. This is our 7th cohort for that, and we currently have 11 participants. Our Aspiring Administrator Academy, our Assistant Principal Academy, is for teachers that want to become assistant principals. And so this is cohort number 6, and we have 13 participants. And we have our Prospective Counseling Program, which is led by our counseling leadership team. This is a 3rd cohort with 8 participants, and many of the people that have been in these programs can go into some of those roles, and that's been the great part about it. We get to know them pretty well, so when opportunities come open, we're able to kind of lean into that and help them find their where they want to go within the system. Also, we have the Concordia Partnership for the Masters in Administration. We have some distinguished teachers here tonight that teach in that program, Dr. Gearing, Dr. Clark, and Dr. Grissom, and are 3 of the 5 LISD people that are part of that program. This, I believe, is cohort number 4, and these are people that get their Masters in Education. And anyway, it's just going really well. So, and then we have our Grow Your Own IA program, which we talked about earlier. We have this Lexi Academy, which is currently cohort 1 with 23 participants, and the goal there is to meet the requirements to become a multidisciplinary team member who represents dyslexia in our meetings, so growing that. The Special Ed Academy as well. I believe this is year 3, and that's a cohort where we have 20 dyslexia teachers and 20 general ed teachers that can become certified in special education. And it's a kind of 3-day program where they can become equipped and ready to take the certification test. So that's been actually, according to Amy Rudd, going very well. We have a lot of people that have become teachers through that. But the main thing I want to highlight tonight is the Leadership Academy. This has been a great new program led by Dr. Kimberly Waltman and Lacey Delgado, who works with our instructional coaches. And what the prompt is, how can you as a person in our district grow in your leadership capacity? So in that program, we have people from technology. They have 30 staff members, people from technology, teachers, central office staff, and operational staff, with the focus on developing them as leaders. They may or may not want to aspire to go into another leadership role, but they want to kind of expand their personal leadership capacity. Went last night, and it was an amazing, I asked them, why are you doing it? And they said, because this is the best thing going in LISD. It's like better than sliced bread. This is amazing. In fact, I leave at 6, I go home at 6:30, and I'm applying it by the time I get home. And I come the next day, I'm applying it on my campus. Leadership skills like team building skills. They go through True Colors. They go through Crucial Conversation training, emotional intelligence training, and listening leader training, just to name a few of the things that are happening. But that's just for people that want to grow in their leadership capacity. So year 1, I think part of the story here too is you see we're building on something. So it's every kind of summer, it's like, what's the next leadership pipeline we want to grow and nurture to make sure people feel like there's an opportunity for them. If they're great where they are, that's fine, but if they can grow in another role, we want to afford that opportunity as well. And the final opportunity we're going to talk about is Mr. Evans and his new leadership program.
So we call this Operation Leadership. So obviously we saw a need on the operational side, so we're heavily focused on instructional and all those programs that Paul just talked about, but what are we doing for the backside of the house or those that are in the operations department? A lot of feedback through the years and a need and a want to be able to do those. So we just finished up our 3rd meeting this week, and that's being led right now by Chuck Wright, who is our person that works within the DPC, our Document Production Center, and he's John Maxwell trained. He's done some sessions through some of our summer conferences and things like that, and he's doing a great job leading that group right now. So we started this at like a director level, but now we have extended it, or we started from the very beginning because folks were like, hey, I want to be a part of this. Hey, I want to be a part of this. And we have almost 70 members right now that are attending, from anywhere from an admin assistant in transportation all the way through a chief of that individual department. So we've really opened the door to anybody that would like to be a part of that, and focused in on what the group is wanting and what they're needing. And the feedback for that, as you can see through some of those pieces there, has been very good and very well received. So it's something that we want to continue to grow, but we have 3 more meetings to finish out the spring semester, and then we're going to look to see how we can continue that on through the fall and through the years.
I think you can tell that this group's pretty excited about the work that we get to do in supporting the goal of empowering staff. as they support the students that we all serve. I'm going to open it up for any type of questions you might have or discussion.
So I think I was thinking back to about 3 years ago when we had a lot of unfilled positions, and I heard from recruiting, and I was like, oh, this sounds like maybe what you've been applying for the last few years and keep going on. And then I thought about the season that we're in, and you touched upon it a little bit where you talked about the surplusing of teachers. So my question is there any scaling back on the recruiting that you're doing, given that times have changed?
So that's a great question. And that's definitely something that we are being transparent about with people that when we visit with them. But two things can be true. We can have a surplus of teachers that we're definitely going to take care of, and we can have these high needs positions that I want to find the number one best person for that job. So that's what we're trying to do. I'm recruiting like it's a regular season, but I'm being transparent with people as they apply that we have to go through this process, and that's where we are. But let me tell you about our culture, because if you wait for us and you wait for positions, this is where you want to be. And so I think transparency is the biggest thing, because we are going to take care of our teachers that are currently with us, that are in that surplus process first. But we still will have, like Dr. O'Price said, we still will have those very hard to fill positions that take certain certification and a certain skill set that we might need to hire because there's no one else that is certified or wants to do that job because of the skill set, if that makes sense. So I think transparency and really talking about the timeline, because usually it's after spring break when we kind of start rolling with our hiring. We are talking to people about that's pushed way back because we have a lot of people to take care of, and we're going to take care of those people because that's who we are as a system.
I just wanted to thank y'all so much for the Frontier Direct Care Clinic. I feel like that is such a game changer. And you know, I love to ask questions about what are we doing for healthcare, how are we putting into these premiums. This is so vital because it really does help our team access healthcare. And I've heard stories from our staff who are using it and have really enjoyed the experience. So I'm very excited about that and want to thank y'all for that. And my other question is, I'm not sure where it is, but I know a long time ago when we started this, I think it started with maybe the admin aspiring program, and then we've added all these different areas for leadership, which is wonderful. But for our mentorship for teachers, like what are we doing to make sure we grow those teachers in the classroom to stay in the classroom? And I know we have the mentorship program, but has there been any talk about these type of models as far as a type of leadership? Because I know when we get these models in place, I see infrastructure that comes with it. And I see us get more of these qualified, very excited to be here staff. And so I'm like, oh, can we do anything with teachers? What's been the discussion? I know we've talked about something, but I'm just not seeing it here on the list. So help me remember or recall what those are.
So one of the things is beginning a residency program. And our goal is to grow that and to have more residents and be able to use the teachers that they're working with in more of a leadership role. There are several different models that we're exploring. It's costly. And so this is kind of one of those years that we're dipping our toe in with getting some residents. We've also been very particular about who we wanted to work with. And so we're excited about the Longhorns in residence because we've seen really good success with our U-Teach and with our UT graduates. So we're beginning that process with the goal of growing that and being able to capitalize on the skills of our really strong teachers to go in and support other teachers while they have the resident, when the resident is in like that student teaching semester. So that's what we're going to try to develop as we go, and we'll be doing a little piloting of that this year.
I have a question. Y'all have been talking about retention and taking care of the teachers that we have, and the largest concern that I am hearing is overwhelm and burnout, especially in the larger campuses that are not retaining certain positions. staff members are concerned with what systems are in place to help them avoid burning out, because there's going to be extra work, there's going to be extra assignments. So I'm wondering, what systems are we putting in place while we are dealing with these budget cuts to help our staff deal and avoid burnout and overwhelm?
We're definitely working on trying to come up with plans to support staff as they transition into new staffing ratios. We have a lot of work to do. I acknowledge that we don't have systems in place yet for that, but we definitely are working on developing those systems and making sure that we provide the supports that they need. It's a big conversation. It's a conversation that needs to happen with our principals, with our other leaders in the school district, as we work through creating these systems that can support this inevitable challenges that staff members will have as they have larger classrooms.
So we are also preparing a more detailed response for you. So I know you asked a similar question in an email to us this week. So we are working on a much more detailed response for you with a number of other departments that are working on this exact same issue. So we'll have that to you hopefully in the next few days.
And it is part of what we look for in our stay interviews as well. What is making you feel overwhelmed, and what could we take off your plate, those kinds of things, just to get us that feedback from teachers that are in the classrooms doing the job right now.
I just want to thank y'all. It's clear that y'all's enthusiasm with your presentation, and just you talk about finding that teacher that's just right. It's also clear that y'all really love what y'all are doing, and I think that shows a lot when we're recruiting teachers and you're talking to people like, you know, you're trying to recruit people and you're happy and you love the system that you're a part of. I think that really shows. So thank you for all you do.
And thank you for your support.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move to our next item, which is 7B1, which is our legislative committee update.
I can
I'll
go
let
ahead.
the chair.
I'll go
open.
ahead and start and say that we have been very busy and meeting regularly now. We have moved our calls to Monday morning, bright and early, because the committees are setting up and setting all the bills for hearings on Friday and over the weekend. And so by Monday, then you have your idea of all the bills that are coming up. Education bills are in a number of areas in committee, so it's not just usually where people go look at House Public Ed and Senate Public Ed. You could be in State Affairs, you may be in Business and Commerce, you may be in even the healthcare hearings. So there's a great number of education bills all over the legislative session. I would say there's definitely a strong public education discussion throughout the entire legislative session. And Dr. Gehring, you've been giving some presentations, so I was just wondering if you could tell us like what you're sharing out as far as kind of what is the feel and how, as a district, you're inspiring us to kind of look for what we're going to do with what's happening this legislative session.
Yes, thank you, Trish. So a couple of things. First, I'm very grateful for the board legislative committee and the advocacy that you guys are doing. That's probably some of the best work that I've seen over the multiple sessions that I've been in this position. So thank you for doing that. I want to remind people too that we have the district legislative webpage, so you can see our priorities on there. We have a bill tracker on there now, thanks to Christina. And we also have all of our representatives listed there with their contact information so that you know who to reach out to and do that. So don't hesitate to go over there. I give you a little bit of context as to what we're dealing with, just because this is some of the overwhelm that I feel as a superintendent trying to manage all of the things. So preliminary data indicates there's over 9,000 bills that were filed this session so far. Well, the deadline has passed now, so hopefully no new ones after this, but that is a record, I believe. And it's really important to understand, though, that out of those 9,000 bills, probably historically only about 21% of them actually make it all the way to the finish line. But that being said, what ends up in those 21% are sometimes combinations of other pieces of other bills. And so you really do have to be paying attention to a lot of what is coming across. About 1,500 of those 9,000 are kind of directly related to public education. That's about 50% more than last session. Out of those, 157 have had a hearing so far, and 43 have moved out of either House or Senate subcommittee. And so you can tell that it's a process, and we're more than halfway through the process, but the second half of the process is much more intense than the first half. And so we really have to now pay diligent attention to what's happening, because this is where pieces start to move between bills, and things start to happen more and more behind the scenes and not so much in the public face. And so we really have to be paying attention. So if you look at our priorities, the two big things that we've been really focused on are special education, and Anna's been doing really yeoman's work on helping educate legislative staffers specifically on what the issues are and why we should do things a little differently. And then, of course, on the safety and security side, trying to convince both sides of the House and both Democrats and Republicans that these are things that really need to be dealt with and that should be adequately funded, so that we can free up some of the other funding to deal with some of those other things. So some of the big bills, of course, that we're tracking, Senate Bill 1 and House Bill 1, of course, are the budget bills for the biennium. So you've got about $336 billion in those budgets each side. Of course, very different from each other, even though they end up at about the same amount. Then we move on to Senate Bill 2, which is the Education Savings Account. You know what that looks like, so I'm not going to jump into that, but there's about $1 billion in that right now for just about 100,000 students. But we know that that's also going to grow over time as we head towards the end of the decade. House Bill 3 on the House side is the Education Savings Account. Interestingly, that one has not come out of Pub Ed committee yet, which they, I think, anticipated would have happened by now. We have 75 Republican members as co-authors on that bill, and just as a reminder, they need 76 votes to pass that out of the House. The next two companion bills are House Bill 2, which is a Public Education and School Finance Reform Bill. So this is where the actual rulemaking will come on how they spend those appropriations that they've put aside for public education. And on the Senate side, that's Senate Bill 26. Again, completely different approaches. So in the House bill side, you'll see a $200 on basic allotment raise. You don't see any of that in the Senate bill, rather in teacher pay raises, teacher incentive allotment, and some of those pieces. So making sure that we understand what is in each of those pieces. And then I'll give you a smattering of some of the other things that are coming up that we're having to pay attention to, but House Bill 100 has the instructional materials piece in that we've got to watch carefully because it's very closely tied to curriculum. House Bill 2207 is about bond elections and what happens if you fail bond elections and how soon you can come back. Senate Bill 27 and House Bill 6 all talk about discipline. Again, we're involved in that conversation because of the links to special education and the work that has to happen there. That's an interesting approach that is happening with other school districts involved in coalitions, and so we're watching very carefully how all of that goes down and how that works. Pete is watching House Bill 19 for us closely because of the cap that puts on local debt and the ability for us to go out for bond elections. November-only elections is showing up in lots of different places, and so we have a concern that somewhere along the line it could sneak over the line and restrict some of what we do. There's other election issues that we're watching as well that are closely related to those. Truancy bills have been up on the Senate side this last week. My concern on those is the recriminalization of some of these discipline issues that we're seeing that we managed to get away from in previous sessions and now it appears we're going back to. And so we have some concern about that. House Bill 7 looks at grievance timelines and could have a large impact on the work of trustees. It's very vague right now, and also gives the commissioner a lot of authority in the appeals process, and so we're watching that carefully. Teacher Bill of Rights is something else we need to pay attention to. And then we're in support of the safety allotment bills. That's Senate Bill 260 and House Bill 124. And we've sent letters of support to both of those authors to make sure that we appreciate the work that they're doing. We've also sent them our actual costs, though, in both of those areas, so that they understand that while we appreciate what they're doing, it's not enough. And we're encouraging them to try to meet the actual need as we go forward. So that just gives you a brief synopsis of how we go about business and what we do as a legislative committee, and how we're trying to pay attention and advocate for what we need as we go through the session.
And can I just remind everybody what you said at the beginning, which is that you might look at a bill with legislation language and it's like, oh, well, this language by itself, this is, we can live with this is a good idea. But then you see the committee sub that comes out and all of a sudden it has other bills, other parts, other language, and it's like, wait a minute, now, we've got some details in here that's totally changed what's going to happen with this bill. And so I think that's where our community can stay engaged. Next week, we have heard rumors that HB3 and HB2 will be coming out, so finance and vouchers will be moving. And then it has been rumored that on April 10th, the budget bill for the House will come forward. And so then what can you do as a community when you're hearing this is you can reach out, and Anna and Gloria, you can add any if I'm missing, but you can reach out to your members. You can also reach out to these committees, because once the House passes a bill, that doesn't mean it's a definite thing. They're going to have to go reconcile differences if they have differences with the Senate. And so it's in those conference committees where a lot of this work gets done. And so it is important to reach out to the committee members. And if the committee members aren't your representative, then reach out to friends and families in other areas and let them know what Leander and what public education means to you, and share your story. And that's all we're saying is you just need to keep sharing your story up there with the legislators of what is going on. Is there anything else that I'm missing as far as outreach, y'all? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you both for that legislative update. Next, we're going to move over to item 7B2, which is discussion of the 2025-26 board meeting dates.
So thank you, Madam President. Now that we have an approved calendar, academic calendar for 25-26, we wanted to just bring board meeting dates to you. So you have a sheet in your folder with a list of the dates on one side, and then the dates in calendar format on the other side. Just want to point out a couple of nuances to you, if we can. In December, we just have one meeting. We're trying to stay with the 2 Thursdays a month, just one meeting in December. And then as we looked at January, that January 8th meeting would have to be posted in December before we leave for the break. And so we're proposing turning January 8th into a budget workshop so that we can really address budget parameters in a deeper fashion and have some robust conversations at the beginning of that process. But that does leave just one regular meeting in January. We felt like that was probably going to be okay. And then if you go to March, the same thing happens. So spring break is the week of the 16th. And so we have a board meeting that is this board meeting on the 26th. And that gets posted prior to spring break. And so we're proposing to make that into a budget workshop as well, so that we can again have an opportunity. We feel like this timing is good for us to have a deeper dive into budget conversation before we approve compensation plan in April, and then bring you in your final budget in May. The rest of those are not too different. If happy to answer any specific questions you might have. Otherwise, let me see how we're looking to approve.
The conferences, the board conferences, are these conferences then that have already been identified that we're going to try to go to as a complete board, or what are those?
Those are not, those are just ones that we have attended in the past, and so we've always tried to make sure we avoid conflict in those with board meetings in case the board decides to go, but we have made no decisions yet about what conferences we will attend. We're certainly happy to talk about that.
So I had talked to Dr. Gehring about this, and because we had talked about this as a board, right, what does that training look like? Because when we go to a training with 2 trustees, we're not really getting anything as a board. And so I've asked Dr. Gearing to get the budget for the board as far as training for next year. And I think I would like for us to have a conversation, because I would really like to see this board go to a conference. And it's really more about, learning as a trustee, but for me, it's really about bonding as a board and trying to reset us in this crazy education time. So I don't know when we can have that conversation. It doesn't need to be a drawn out conversation, right? I'm sure pretty majority of us know what conferences exist, what don't. And so if we could just have an agenda item soon, 20 minutes, and if y'all can, send in your conferences to either Cindy or Gloria. Does that work with you? Cindy? And then that way we can have those conferences ready to discuss. And when we're looking at these conferences, please, my suggestion is what can be the most affordable, cost effective, but is going to be the biggest bang for our buck in regards to training and really bonding as a board.
So in the past, in the past we've gone to multiple if possible, but really we should be scaling back. Is it just to one? Just one option?
I think we can talk about that when we have that on the agenda. Just come ready to speak to the ones you're interested in, but we'll wait till we have that on the agenda.
I think it is a good idea to put your suggestions out there, and then let's talk about. So I don't want to just try to pick only one. I want to look at what's out there so that we can have a robust conversation. I would like, when we're looking at this committee, just to help me balance as well, because my goodness, y'all, we're a busy board, and this doesn't even have all the other events we're going to go do. But I would like to see if it's possible to have our graduation dates and convocation, like the one that all board is expected to attend, even if it's a social function. It would help me kind of look at how everything is balancing out.
Well, that was the one thing I did notice on here for May of 2026. I love that we don't have a board meeting before graduation.
All right, thank you. We'll talk more about the conferences at future agenda. We're going to move over to our next agenda item, which is 7C1, discussion of the 2024-25 budget projections.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Gearing. Tonight we're here to do our budget update for the 24-25 school year. We have the presentation. Basically, if you recall, last month we were looking at probably ending the fiscal year at about 26.2 million. Expenditures exceeding revenues. We have updated this information to show it's about 27.3. There is a revenue adjustment in there. We had an increase of a little over 2 million due to a property value audit. However, we have had a decrease of about 2.3 million in our comp ed numbers, our free and reduced numbers that were done prior to the snapshot date. So we are continuing to analyze that to make sure that we are in a good position, so we don't have to adjust any numbers going into the next fiscal year. But that's the main adjustment. We're continuing to track. As you know, this is we start pretty broad and we make some assumptions, and as each month goes by, we narrow and get more accurate. But we are we all are aware that we are expecting to end the year with expenditures exceeding revenues. We have a breakdown at the bottom of the sheet that explains the one-time expenditures that had gone to the board that were above that, a little over about 14 million. So at this place in time, we're looking at about $13 million that were not, or which is about what we adopted, and then the 14 million for the one-time expenditures, which puts us right at about the 27 million, which is kind of about what we've been thinking we'd be at going forward. So this is just an update. We will update you every month throughout the spring until we adopt a budget as we get final audit numbers, and then obviously usually in the November, we will bring you the audited final expenditure numbers. But these generally get a little more accurate as we go through the spring. And so I'll be more than happy to answer any questions on any of the data or the numbers on this presentation, or not the presentation, but on the worksheet in the board book.
So Pete, I have a question about the first fund balance net change at 13 million some change. That was when we adopted our deficit parameters, we knew that was going to be about the amount. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you look prior years, we would adopt a deficit budget within that 3% or for whatever the parameter was. And kind of the general rule at the time was we knew that we weren't really going to be at that deficit level, maybe a little bit less, could be even in the red, in the black, like the 1 year, my first year here.
Right.
We had a deficit, we added 10 million to fund balance. We tightened some budgets. No funding increase since 2019, and we knew that would be getting tighter and tighter. So this year, when we did do a 3% deficit of just under 13.1 million, the expectation was we were probably going to finish a deficit of about 10, 12, 13.1 million. So it wasn't like it was kind of in years past.
Right.
But we had that threshold, and we really never got close to it. This year, we knew we were going to get much closer to that threshold.
That makes sense, and that is why, we'll be laser focused on this, because it's a different perspective and philosophy, because you've done such a great job of pulling all this in. But I guess my question is, I just want to make sure that we adopted a budget deficit at 13 and change, but then the deficit continued to grow because of other decisions. So I'm wanting to know, as we get ready to adopt a budget deficit parameter in the next agenda item, the one-time items, do you see like a trend of other one-time items that are going to come up? In other words, the funding deficit that you adopt, are we always going to count on it growing this much? Or do you see, like when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, I don't know if these are all going to be for the next time around, but I just like your thoughts as we're thinking about how much this grew. Is this average, or is this kind of one-off?
Well, if you look, just to highlight for those listening who can't maybe not see the sheet that we're looking at, but there were a total of about 14.4 million one-time expenditures. 3.2 of those were an added position increase that we did in August. However, there was a revenue that matched that. There were 3 million enrolled purchase orders. That's one of the areas we're going to look at this year. We always roll purchase orders, but some of these purchase orders have gone back for 2 years, gone back to COVID. So we're really going to look at, if you haven't spent it in 2 years, we need to have an honest discussion about canceling that PO and moving on. So that we'll hit that very hard this year. Our district, our board of trustees, as well as Dr. Gehring and the chiefs and cabinet have been very supportive of giving one-time payments in prior years. That is something we felt was important. Sometimes we would be able to do it and still have revenues exceed expenditures. And last year, we had talked about it in the compensation discussion in April and May of last year. Did not build it in the budget, but did want to do it as part of the one-time process to help our employees, knowing that we were able to give a more of a minimal raise, but to help in that process with the cost of inflation. And I know the board wanted to do more. However, school funding was not, the legislature did not provide some of those things that would allow us to do that. So we did the one-time payment. That is, that's about 1/3 of that 14 million. It's 5.5 million. That is something that. Part of it at the time, you'd like to kind of get away from doing the one-time payments, but you want to be able to do that if you have the funding to provide the compensation at market. So where do you find that balance? And we kind of have had to do that, have those discussions each spring as we go into it. And this year will probably be a little bit later, just waiting to see what the legislature does. The police department startup costs, I don't anticipate having any more startup costs, or at least not to that significant amount. However, let me clarify that as of right now, we are still going to be spending about $4.5 to $5 million on a police force that is state funds at 1.2 million. So there is a gap. That is about $3.8 million that we could give to raises, to give to keep programs, to do a lot of things that we're not able to do because of some of the state mandates, or the typical term is unfunded mandates. The last one is a little under $200,000 for some inflationary costs for startup at high school. That's not, I wouldn't put that as a significant amount to that process. So to answer your question, to make a long story short, which you're probably saying too late, basically the one-time payment is the big piece. The rolling forward of the POs, I think we really want to narrow that down. And if it needs to be rolled, it needs to be rolled. But if it shouldn't be more than 1 year at a max, unless there's extenuating circumstances. So we really want to get that narrowed down. So I think those two things, and then the police force is just part of the funding process, but it shouldn't be any more one-time costs. So my goal would be to anticipate that being less than what it is this year. And that's just a discussion we'll have to have going forward on the one-time payment piece. We'll just, that we'll just kind of see. Hopefully getting the TASB study implemented, we're getting most positions at market, and then depending on what the state legislature does as far as teacher raises or any other funding mechanisms, we'll be able to have that discussion. And unfortunately, it may be in a very compressed timeline as opposed to maybe to prior year budgets, but I don't think we'll, worst case scenario, we can set money aside. We can amend the budget. We know what we need to do if it goes to special session or something to that effect. But
No, thank you for asking those questions. I'm just looking at what we've done this year to keep in mind as we get ready for other discussions. So we started at 13, we added 14.
Yeah.
We ended up with a 27 deficit in fund balance. So,
exactly.
thank you.
Thank you. I think we are ready to move on to the next item there, which is 7C2, discussion and consider adoption of the 2025-26 amended budget assumptions.
All right, if you recall, we had a really short meeting on March 13th, and we had a really, had a really good discussion. I think it was a very robust discussion. We kind of figured out exactly what the board direction we wanted to do, and some of the things that we wanted to maybe reintroduce to the budget and what that would entail. And so, just in brief summary, the board had asked us to come back and increase the deficit threshold from 3% to 4.5%. We talked about increasing our budget assumption of 94% attendance to 94.125% attendance. And just one thing I do want to clarify, we did increase the pay study adjustment. We had it at 3. We did put it at 3.5, which really wasn't an assumption, but it was built in the budget. So just to clarify that we are putting it into the 3.5. And then also in our assumptions, we did have an M&O tax rate. We got our CPD values. We got from the comptroller's amount, we have changed that estimate. And so it did change. So I know it's going to change again by the time we actually adopt the budget, but just since we had it in the assumption, we did change it to 0.7371 M&O rate. We left the INS rate at 33 cents. But I know the numbers 1 and 2, the attendance rate and the deficit threshold were the two main assumptions that were discussed and what we're coming up with. So we have bring that to you tonight and ask for you to approve that, to adjust that, so Dr. Gehring and the administration can then begin to build that budget with those parameters.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the 2025-2026 amended assumptions to be used in the preparing the 2025-2026 general fund budget as presented.
A second.
Anna makes a motion, Nkosi second. Is there any further discussion?
I want to make sure, Pete, that I tell you, this is not my comfort spot, but given the legislative session and given all the discussion, all the great board work, I see why this is a good step. But I will continue to ask as we move forward, are there any other extras as we're adding on? Be very careful as fund balance continues to get eaten at. But I appreciate the board's work and look forward to future discussions. Thank you.
I think this is a terrible idea of going this route. I think there is talk of school consolidation, school closures. We're letting go teachers. We're hiring teachers at the same time. This isn't where I want to go at all. I think we should have taken the entire idea of the budget and gone back to the very basics of why we're here, who teaches the kids, why the importance, and then start from the bottom up.
We had a really great discussion with our recruiting department where we talked about how we're letting go of teachers and we're not letting go of teachers, and how the priority is making sure any of those teachers are prioritized. You weren't here. I think you were out at that time, but there was a really great presentation from that department. And so one of the things that's really important as they're doing recruitment is being transparent in there, that we are doing recruitment and there's some specialized positions, but also being transparent and letting people know as we do recruitment, we are going through, budget cuts, and our priority is to our LISD employees. And so I want to be real careful when we say we're letting teachers go, because we're not letting teachers go. Teachers are on teacher contracts, and we're looking for other places for our teachers in our district. And so, we're not doing some mass layoff of teachers. And so I just want to be real careful with that language. And they were real clear. I think Sade asked them, can you talk, right? I mean, Sade asked, can you talk to us about that? Because you're telling us about all this great recruitment you're doing, but we want to talk about, as we are increasing classroom size in places, what are we doing with these teachers, and how are we prioritizing them? And they spoke to, it was really important to them to prioritize them, and as they are recruiting, being really transparent with people that, this might take a little bit longer, because right now our priority is placing our LISD teachers.
And I understand that. But talking to people, they're very worried, in that we're trying to be more transparent right now, but we've been at times, I believe, disingenuous of what our intentions are, and then we talk to people, but then we change our minds and we vote, in my opinion, against them. It's nice that we give them $1,000 here or there, but that's not keeping their job. And the decisions we make in here affect a 200 square mile area. And starting off with a budget to be in the negative makes me very worried going forward. I would rather we didn't. I would rather we went down to the bare minimum of what do we need to do, and so that we save every teacher's life. We don't, or job. We don't, but their life is the job. A lot of these teachers, their life's work.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, the passion they have to show up for a job that they don't always get the money, the respect, and yet they show up every day. It's extraordinarily to see, and
I'm glad that you see that. And I think what would be really helpful, for the last few months, we've been all sitting here having these really robust discussions. I can go back to all these meetings where we're talking about this. We're getting into the nitty-gritty, and you didn't say one single thing. So I think it's real choice that right now we're at this point and you have something to say about the process. You sat here at this table. You could have engaged any time along the way. You chose not to. You chose to sit there. You chose to be on your phone. Tonight, when we were talking about recruitment, you were out there in the lobby for an hour talking. So this is where the work gets done. A lot of us can, at the end of the day, say, I don't like this. This didn't work out for me. I don't like it either. There's a lot of pieces I don't like, but you know what? We all show up all the time, and we sit here and do the work.
I say I don't care. I care.
Well, then
sometimes
do
you
the
really
work.
need to listen.
Then
you
do
really
the work.
need to listen. I am doing the work. I'm listening very intently. And you don't tell your enemies when they're making a mistake. We would talk for hours before we'd ever get to anything remotely concerning with the teachers and saving the schools. So when you say talk, you talk in circles for hours instead of getting right to the point. How do we save the jobs? How do we save these schools?
All right, so we had a motion, we had a second.
Yeah,
do you have a question?
No, a discussion on this. So, from the data that had been presented to us in the past, I did see, I'm looking at the attendance line, and so we're looking about 94.125% is our goal. I really hope that we can get that word out, because we usually start the year at 97%. And then it drops off to like 92%, averaging at 94. And we know every 1% there is 3 million. So from 97 to 94, we're looking at 9 million just in attendance. So that's one part. Another part is just I mean, we'll have some time to talk about that some more, but it's really, because it's not on this, I don't think it's a line item here, but it's just in general. There are other ways that we've talked about finding efficiencies, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you for bringing attention to that. Recently, I did an interview with the Cedar Park High School. They have a great news team, and we were talking about attendance. And I said 1%, a little over 3 million, and they were like, what? Students are hearing that, and they're kind of like, that's a lot of money. That's a big impact. And I said, okay, so let's talk about pre-COVID numbers and where we are now. And they're like, that's a lot of money. And so I think that we can do a better job, right, of just educating our community about the big impact that attendance has on the budget in general. But thank you. I do know we have a motion. We have a second. If there's no further I'm sorry. No, okay. I was looking this way, and so I'm sorry. If there is no further discussion, all those in favor? 6 in favor. All those opposed? 1 opposed. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm getting there, sorry. All right, it is 8:17 p.m., and the board will now go into closed session by the purposes permitted by Texas Government Codes 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation and/or attorney-client privilege matter. Texas Government Codes 551.074, personnel deliberation regarding resignations, terminations, employment, reassignments, duties, and evaluation of personnel and public officers. Texas Government Code 551.0821, deliberation regarding matters whereby personally identifiable information regarding one or more students will be disclosed. Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding their pending or contemplated litigation and/or attorney-client privilege matter to discuss participation in a multi-district litigation involving youth social media usage and related litigation, and entering into contingency fee contract with Thompson and Horton LLP, Alien Bonin PC in Hanton, Demarath and Castillo PC to represent Leander ISD. Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberation regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. No action will be taken in closed session. Any action related to closed session agenda items will be taken when the board returns to open session.
You're here.
It is 8:44 PM and the board is returning to open session. Board members, do you have any motions related to closed session agenda items?
Okay, I'll go. What am I doing? 9A.
The suit.
This one?
I move that the Board of Trustees adopt a resolution approving the contingent fee legal services contract that includes the findings required by Texas Government Code 2254, Subchapter C, and that are needed for submission of a contingent fee legal services agreement and a request to the Texas Attorney General for expedited review. God, I can't talk.
That's okay.
Someone second my motion.
A second.
Anna makes a motion, Francesca seconds. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor? 7 in favor, motion passes.
I move that the Board of Trustees of Leander Independent School District approve settlement of cause number 23-1187-CC1. Board of Trustees, am I reading the right one? Sure. Okay. Of Leander Independent School District versus Roy Kuchera and wife Alice Kuchera in Williamson County Court at Law Number 1, and execute an agreed final judgment with Roy Kuchera and Alice Kuchera to acquire fee simple title to 76.093 acre lot of land in Williamson County, Texas, as required for an educational facility related, and operate, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Thank you. Say it again. Appurtenances and other public use, oh my gosh, I just can't read tonight. And I should have had my glasses on. And other public use purposes.
I second.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Anna, Trish makes a motion, Anna seconds. Is there any further discussion?
Is this the property that we had purchased from?
This is the item that we talked about and closed last week when we had the, not last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago.
Right. So this is the property that was this the eminent domain that we voted on a year and a half ago?
Yes, that is that property. Yes, sir.
So what we're voting on is to approve or disapprove something?
So this is a settlement arrangement. So you're voting to approve that settlement.
And can we say how much that settlement is?
Yes, sir. It's the exact number is. I will let Jeremy come up here and verify for me.
This is the item that they came and spoke to us about and closed about the eminent domain, and then them coming back with the counter.
So to clarify, this is the item we voted on and approved, and this is now us following up on our obligations.
Yes, and
Great.
yes.
So the additional amount is $5,126,000 for a final purchase of $27,500,000.
This was the land that is going to be used for 31.
Elementary 31 is the plan used
Yep.
currently.
Just at elementary, or is there? I thought there was high school and middle school.
So this property is on the north side of current 2243. There's a middle school, high school site that you may be referencing on the south side.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is a 76-acre parcel that would include an elementary school and a future development.
Okay. Right. And we used eminent domain as a means to try to help the seller
To acquire that
to acquire the
property.
land. Right.
Yes, sir.
And so he then later take us to court.
So part of that eminent domain process included a settlement at that time through the county commissioner, and then the owner is now coming back with a different offer and a different settlement that's for consideration tonight.
Right. And this is why I remember that vote, and I remember voting against it because I didn't like the idea of doing it in this way. They because it seems like, we're talking about budgets, we're talking about money, we're talking about, and here we are spending another additional $5 million. That's a lot of money.
This is a different bucket. It's from the INS.
Correct.
Bond approved funds.
I understand that, but there's a pattern I've been seeing over and over that it just seems like we're not doing this very fiscally responsible.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? 6 in favor. All those opposed? 1 opposed. Motion passes. I have another motion. Does anyone have for me? Anna, read this. That's okay.
Okay, good luck. I move that the Board of Trustees adopt and approve entering into a contingent fee legal service agreement with Thompson and Horton LLP, Iliad and Bonin PC, and O'Holland and Demarath and Castillo PC to represent the district in youth social media usage and related litigation.
Second.
Anna makes motion, Sade seconds. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor? 7 in favor. Motion passes. All right, it is 8:51 p.m. and having no further business, this meeting of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees is adjourned.